Hey traders, it's John Fortune here with this week's weekly Forex forecast for the 1st of October to the 5th of October 2018. As always, we're going to start by looking at the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of markets, looking at the key levels of support and resistance in the process. We're also going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're going to be looking for in the coming week and also in the weeks ahead. So let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. As always, starting with the US dollar index. Now we start the week above key area of broken resistance, looking to turn support at the 94.93. We had this interest rate rise last week from the Federal Reserve, and we had that kind of hawkish rhetoric going with it. And so as we start the week above the 94.93, very simply put, we are looking for further advances in the US dollar index next week. If we can get a pullback and if we can get a retest of broken resistance, looking to turn support at 94.93, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside in the target set, the 96.07. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 2, the 96.93. As we're looking for further advances in the US dollar index this week, we do have a bullish bias on the US dollar, and so we would be favouring pairs and markets with a long bias in the dollar. Next, we have crude oil. Now, crude oil starts the week above the key area of broken resistance. You can see we've already turned support at the 71.70. So very simply put, if we can get a pullback in oil, preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest once again of broken resistance turning support, because this gives us better risk to reward ratio. If we can get a pullback, and preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of 71.70, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance, the upside in the target set, the 75.20. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance, the upside in target 2, at the 77.31. So the first pair we're going to look at is euro dollar. Now, as we start the week below the key area of broken support, looking to turn resistance to the 1.17176, if we can get a pullback, and preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside in the target set at the 1.15266. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside target 2 at the 1.14460. So the next pair we're going to look at is pound dollar. Now we start the week below the key area of broken support, looking to turn resistance at the 1.3056. If we start to accumulate underneath here and we get a pullback, and if we can get a bit of correction and a pullback and a retest, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside in the target set at the 1.2942. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside in target 2 at the 1.2827. So next pair we're going to look at is the US dollar Japanese yen. Now we start the week above the key area of broken resistance, looking to turn support at the 112.848. If we can get a pullback, and you can see we have a continuation pattern to the upside known as a bull flag, or what's the start of a bull flag here. If we can get a pullback, and preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken resistance turning support at the 112.848, this will be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside in the target set at the 114.378. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside in target 2 at the 114.730. Now you can see there's only a short distance between these two targets here, so there may be a pretty good chance that you don't get the opportunity to trade it like this. It may just be a case where if we get a pullback in this area, we can look for either a more conservative target or a more aggressive target, because they're quite closely spaced together. The next pair we're going to look at is Aussie dollar. Now we start the week below the key area of broken support, turning resistance already, and so this is a great place going into next week to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside in the target set at the 0.71767. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.70901. So next pair we're going to look at is the New Zealand dollar. Now we start the week above the key area of broken resistance, actually turning support already. We have come back in this corrective fashion. This is actually very well structured to the upside. We've had this break of resistance, retest of the 0.66011. So very simply put, this is the area where we would start to look for further advances in the New Zealand dollar, and we'd start to look for bullish formations and patterns here. And if we get the right kind of bullish formations and patterns here, we can look for further advances up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and the target set at the 0.67200. And if we get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 2 at the 0.6824. Now you will have noticed that if the dollar is going to be strong next week, and any moves to the upside in New Zealand dollar would be the New Zealand stronger than the dollar. So we have to think about these, because sometimes I get asked, we'll say, oh, well, the New Zealand dollar is moving to the upside, but the dollar is strong. Okay, so let's think about it. Well, just because the dollar is strong, it doesn't mean we can change the structure of the New Zealand dollar. The New Zealand dollar is structured to the upside. That is how it is. So we can't impose our opinion on the market. We have to let the market talk to us. So one of the things we can actually use in a situation like this is we can say, okay, well, first of all, if we think the dollar is going to be strong next week because the dollar index is structured to the upside, we could perhaps filter the New Zealand dollar, because we could say that this support area may be more susceptible to failing because we have a strong dollar. So because we're structured to the upside, we may actually end up failing and breaking to the downside. We can also look at this and say, well, okay, well, if the New Zealand dollar, as it is so far, is the only currency which is structured to the upside against the dollar, perhaps when we look at other pairs, the New Zealand may be a good one we can look at to the upside. Why? Because it's clearly stronger compared to the dollar than a lot of the other currencies going into next week. And we can use this kind of information when we get a kind of anomaly like this, you can call it. Okay, so when you see this, try and think logically and try and think of the information you can pull when you see something like this, which may be going counter to the consensus, which this week would be a strong dollar. And if you're really good and you are capable of doing these certain things, you can even use these as hedging portfolios, and you can use this to take synthetic hedge trades, for example, which is something in the market update video we went through with our website subscribers, and we showed them how you can do synthetic hedges. This is the perfect example of when these opportunities for those kind of trades arise. So just bear that in mind looking at the New Zealand dollar going into next week. So next pair we have is the US dollar Swiss franc. Now we start the week with strong momentum in the US dollar Swiss franc. This is highlighting that further advances are certainly the higher probability move in this pair going into next week. We start the move above as well, the key area of broken resistance, looking to turn support at the 0.96975. And if we can get a pullback, and preferably if we can get a retest of broken resistance turning support, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target set at the 0.9898. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 2 at the 0.9962. So next pair we're going to look at is the US dollar CAD. Now we had a really big sell-off last week, and we start the week down below the key area of broken support, looking to turn resistance at the 1.29806. Very simply put, if we get a pullback, and if we can get a pullback preferably and a retest of broken support turning resistance, this is going to be the preferable place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target set at the 1.2805. And if we get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1.2767. Now again, when you have the levels that are this close, you really have to, there's not going to be much of a chance to trade them on a pullback like this. So you really have to just consider them as a conservative target and an aggressive target like this. Okay, and it's entirely up to you guys, depending on your risk to reward, which you prefer to look for. And last but not least, we have gold. Now, we've been very patient on gold ever since we broke down below the Kiev broken support, turning resistance to the 1205.57. We've retested multiple times as resistance, and we have finally had the sell-off over here to the downside, looking for the overall target and the support area to the downside at the 1160.50. So very simply put, as we go into this week, breaking out of not only breaking below the Kiev broken support turning resistance to the 1192.50, but breaking out of this month-long pennant pattern. And you can see we have already pulled back and retested broken support turning resistance on both the pennant bottom and the key area of broken support turning resistance to the 1192.50. So very simply put, this is now a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts or adding to shorts for anybody who's been in up from the 1205. We're looking for bearish formations and patterns to initiate shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside and the target set at the 1160.50. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to everybody who does that on a regular basis, and a big thank you to those who have subscribed to the channel so far. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I hope you all have a profitable week next week. The only thing left to say is take care and don't forget to trade safely.